Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elevate Your Business. I'm Ed Jurecki, here to inspire and empower you on your business journey. Elevate Your Business is for business owners, professionals, and entrepreneurs seeking practical wisdom and insights. Each episode, we explore the experiences of successful individuals to equip you with the tools to thrive. Today, we have an incredible guest, Tamar Turner. So sit back, relax, and let's welcome Tamar. Tamar is a dynamic host of the Down to Two Business podcast, known for conducting live and virtual interviews with business owners, entrepreneurs, and creatives worldwide. Tamar is skilled in editing audio and video files using Zencastr, iMovie, and Audacity, and has created branded merchandise and short-form content for YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Tamar Turner joins us to discuss his personal definition of success and how it has evolved. He'll share one or two of his top challenges and the lessons learned. We'll also explore how Tamar has leveraged innovation in his business and work to overcome obstacles and achieve goals. Welcome, Tamar, to another insightful episode to Elevate Your Business. Tamar, it is great to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Thank you so much for having me, Ed. That was quite the intro. I might need to take some pointers from you on my pod, but I'm very happy to be here, very happy to be in front of your audience and sharing today. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it is my pleasure, my honor, and whatever I can help you with, I am more than happy to. So we can go more into that in the future. But to start with for the show, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your business.
So what's going on, everybody? Tamar Turner here, CEO and host of the Down to Business podcast. So a little bit about me. So grew up, really always had a knack for, I guess, public speaking, really just connecting with people, really just talking. I would say this really strengthened in high school when I actually had the chance to take a public speaking course. And really from there, I fell in love with it, whereas I noticed that a lot of people may be rehearsing their scripts or just writing things down. Me, I was just I was ready to get to it. I think I owe a little bit of that to my photographic memory, but also to just really just loving it. So it really only propelled with undergrad studying communication and journalism and then getting my master's from Syracuse University in broadcast journalism with an emphasis in sports communication. So you really couldn't tell me that I wasn't going to be your next Shannon A. Sharp. I wasn't going to be on TV somewhere calling all the highlights and things like that. But life had different plans. So after graduating, it just became a little bit difficult to find a job. And then shortly after, the pandemic hit. So what we thought and what jobs thought was going to be a couple of weeks, as they told me, and then, well, this will all be back to normal and we'll resume. Well, a couple of weeks turned into some months, some years. And then, I had to find just different ways to pivot. I was unhappy with where I was working at Target in my hometown of Philly, and really just knowing that I didn't want to stay in Philly. And I just wanted more for myself, for life, to see more, to do more. So I had a college friend of mine basically reach out to me. We still were in contact from when we graduated. And he pretty much told me, hey, why don't you just take a chance? Why don't you just move? And I'm down here in Tampa. Let's just figure some things out and go from there. So if it's one person you don't tell that to, it's definitely me. So I saved up, bought a car, made a road trip out of it. And then I was in Tampa in 2020. And so from there, it really just became eye-opening to me. I was in Florida. I've really only known Florida for major parts of Miami or Orlando or Jacksonville, Tallahassee's, but never really knew Tampa. So getting there, it was really just interesting. But I guess to backtrack a little bit, when working at Target, I recognized that the microphone that I wanted to use for the podcast and just for everything, it was all there. I had one day back in grad school, so to go back just a little, I sat after class with one of my professors. He had his own podcast on ESPN. So I just picked his brain really from start to finish, from equipment to hosting platforms. How could I do this? Everything. And he sat down and he literally gave me everything. Shout out to Professor Axe for that. And a lot of things I sat on, I procrastinated, made excuses, you name it, I probably did it. But eventually one day I just held myself accountable and said, look, do not move another muscle, do not buy another snack or anything until you take care of this business. So bought the microphone, dragged my little brother down to the basement one day and made an announcement that, hey, I'm starting a podcast. And after dropping it on pretty much every social media platform that I could think of, the love and just the resignation that I got, man, it was mind blowing. And so from there, we really just started doing interviews. We really just started virtual, but we also started with just audio. So it was really just me talking, really just sometimes sitting next to people. Sometimes they hopping on the line, I'm hopping on the line, and then we just record. So fast forward to my relocation to Tampa. And I just really kept it going. There were some minor setbacks along the way. There were some hiatuses here and there, but never really took a break from it, never really stopped it in some capacity, whether it be content or anything. So here we are now, 2024. I'll be 5 years in November. And I couldn't love what I do more, from just being able to do live events, from being able to do giveaways, from being able to interview people internationally, from appearing on other podcasts just like this, and just being able to connect with like-minded and passionate individuals. I love it. So big shout out to just everybody who has pushed me along the way. But Down to Business podcast is definitely here to stay.
Outstanding. I love that journey. And you've already talked about a few different things, but let's start with my first question. How do you define success today?
So today, I would really just say that it's about happiness for me. It's really just about knowing that I wake up every day and it doesn't feel like a drag. It doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like a painstaking assignment or just something that I have to do to make ends meet, to pay the bills, to do anything like that. I wake up every day and I love what I do. I look at my calendar. It can be a little overwhelming seeing all those dots and messages and things blocked off, but at the end of the day, each thing is its own unique entity and I love it. So success for me is really just it's happiness, but it's also that impact. When I if I was to ever stop this or when my days are done or anything like that, I would just want people to remember the impact of down the business, not necessarily how much money we made, how many events we did, but did you learn something? Were you able to meet somebody as a result of this? Were you able to start a podcast as a result of this or connect with someone else? So for me, it's just all about that impact, the love that's spread as a result, but the knowledge that's imparted too. So as long as I'm happy spreading knowledge and just impacting positively, I'm as successful as they come in my eyes.
Outstanding. I love it. And you started to allude to this, but how has your definition of success evolved over these last years?
I would definitely just speak to the maturity, just in my mindset and myself, more so just thinking back then growing up, I thought it was it was like the rags to riches story. It was just you had to have all the money, the cars, the fame, the big houses. You had to have a background like yours and really just make it seem like, I'm living how I want to live. And that's not to say that, when I get to that point or when it's there, I still won't consider myself successful. But success for me back then was a lot more materialistic than a mindset.
Isn't it interesting to see how those definitions evolve
I'm
after
telling you because
experience?
even looking at this, hearing what I'm saying now, if I would have probably repeated that to my younger self, I would look at myself like I was crazy. Or I would just be like, "Nah, you're just talking." I need the cars, I need the fancy driving. Especially being in Florida now, you see a lot of different things out here, and you just kind of want to keep up with the Joneses in a sense. But for me, it definitely goes to show too, just the mindset, but also just the experiences that I've gone through over the years, and just trials and tribulations, but still just keeping that consistency one way or another.
I love your definition. You've already talked about some of the trials and tribulations. What are one or two of those challenges and the lessons learned?
Whew. So I would say the biggest immediate challenge that I think of is when I left grad school. I literally moved away. My grad school program was only 13 months. Syracuse University was my top choice for undergrad. I didn't realize how I realized how top the school was. Newhouse is the top communication school in the nation, but the high school me didn't realize how competitive it was when weighing against everybody else. We had a college interview day at my high school. So the only school I wanted to talk to was Syracuse. I gave them everything, transcripts, extracurriculars. They said, "Hey, apply, you'll be accepted." Well, I didn't realize that meant apply, then declare. So I applied directly to the school. To my surprise, I was waitlisted and I called very confused, upset, everything like that. And then they kind of explained everything to me, just how competitive the school was, just how even some people with the highest GPAs didn't even really get in and things like that. So eventually I was deferred. My heart was broken in a sense, but I would say applying, getting everything together, doing what I did undergrad, not regretting any bit of that, and then applying for grad school was everything that I could imagine and more. So after doing an accelerated 13-month program, I moved back to Philly on my birthday, July 26th. I pretty much get home and I'm with Newhouse Mafia, as we call it. I have all these big names. I watch all these people on TVs and I've met all these people. It's no way I can't, with my extensive network, it's no way I won't be in a top job in no time. Well, if I could show you guys screenshots of my Gmail account of all the applications that I put out and all the thank yous, all the non-responses, all the scripts that I had to write, phone interviews, different things like that, everything that I just went through time and time and time again, from New York to California to Texas to North Carolina to Atlanta, you name it, I probably applied to it somewhere. So it really was a humbling process. And at that same time, I was working at Target in the electronics department. So it just was not what I wanted to do, but really just having to wake up every day to really want, one, to have money in my savings in my pocket, but two, just to continue to push myself to keep going. It was really hard. It was really hard when you put in 8 hours in electronics and customer service, and then you come home to thank you for your application, but unfortunately, we're just not going to move forward with you or anything like that. So that was very hard for me. And it was very hard for me just because I am a first generation college student. So I felt like at times I didn't really have many people to resonate with, to talk to just bounce ideas off of. And I'm also I'm not very much a person who is just really going to talk about feelings or really get into things like that, which I have to get better with. I bottle a lot of things up. It's not the best, but it's just kind of how I deal with things. So for me, that was one of the hardest things. all those denial letters, but waking up every day, still having to go to Target, still having to apply, still hoping that I'm 3 interviews in, maybe they'll consider me or something like that. And then with getting the 2 job offers that I got, they had to be rescinded because of the pandemic. So it was just like, I felt like I had just got there, just made it. One was in North Carolina, one was in Maryland. And I was just like, these are 2 viable options in a sense. We can do some negotiating, and then having to basically hear that, hey, we've had to place a pause on new hires. We can't really have any new people in the building. When this is all over in a couple of weeks, we'll figure some things out and we'll get back to you. Well, a couple of weeks led to months, months led to years. And then it was just a lot in between, which is a lot of what propelled my move to Tampa. But yeah, it was a little traumatic. I was cleaning out my Gmail folder some weeks ago, and I was just seeing all those emails back from 2019, even 2018 a little bit too, in 2020. And it was just like, wow, all that effort that I was putting in, all those things that I was sending, from your Indeeds to Glassdoors to LinkedIn's to everything. I was the easy apply guru at that point. I feel like I knew everything. But that was definitely something that tested me for sure.
And so what I take away from that is a couple lessons. One, obstacles are going to occur, and you've got to persevere through them. So perseverance is one of the keys. The other key that I'm hearing is adapt. Whatever is thrown at you, it's never going to be exactly as you've got it defined in your mind. And the resilience and the ability to flex and adapt towards a new path without giving up on that vision, on that dream. Those 2 key takeaways out of that. Am I missing anything?
Absolutely. No, I think you hit it spot on.
Any other lessons that you'd like to pass along?
So I would really say one of the other biggest lessons was just a matter of consistency. And it was just a matter of relocating to Philly, to Tampa, to sleeping on a couch at first, to not having a job when I first got down there, to getting a job and then driving an hour each day. I first started working for Amazon. So you're telling me I basically woke up, drove an hour to work, drove vans for 6 hours, and then drove an hour back, and then still had to do podcast interviews. There were some times where I tried to get my route done as quick as I could and hope that they didn't need help with anyone else, just so I could rush home to have that 5 or that 6 o'clock interview. So you're telling me I've been in the hot Florida sun all day, running boxes back and forth, and now I got to get on and let's talk about business. Let's talk about what you're passionate about and talk about what you love. But it became a thing for me where, as exhausted as I may have been, or as much as I wanted to cancel, postpone, make an excuse, whatever, when I hit play or record and I just gave my intro, it was just like another side of me. It was just like another mood kind of took over me too. So I would just say through it all, I really learned that through consistency, you find what you love. And that for me was just talking to other people. It was just podcasts. It was a relief for me. There were so many times where my mind would just be running a mile a minute racing. And then as soon as I hit that record button, I was good. It was just like all of that got tuned out. Let's talk about what you have going on. So starting in Philly, moving to Florida, still having networks in North Carolina, still going back and forth to do events and different things like that. It was a lot happening. And when you're the only person that's really funding it, when you're the one-man band for it, it can definitely battle test you a little bit.
Yeah. So again, it goes back to perseverance and resilience, but I'd also add in there passion, because through that, you appeared to be seeking your passion, and things weren't resonating the way you thought they would until you found your Down to Business podcast. That seemed to check all of the boxes. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, because honestly, I tell people to this day 2 things that I think about. One, a question that I really had to ask myself was, when was the last time I committed myself to something for this amount of time because I wanted to, not because I had to, not because it was expected of me, not because that's the norm, but because I simply wanted to. Because I also tell myself I could wake up tomorrow and just stop doing interviews, cancel everything, delete my Calendly link, delete the page, and just never do this ever again. So the fact that I'm doing this every day in some form or fashion, for me, it's like, yeah, that's even when I give my pitch per se, my Shark Tank pitch, as I call it, part of what I say is, if you're passionate about something, let's sit down and let's talk and let's connect, because I love what I do and I love to hear the passion of others. So that was one thing. But another thing was really just through it all, what's your why for this? And for me, it wasn't the money. It wasn't the fame, the glitz, the glamour, because I would have stopped month 1 if that was the case. But here we are almost year 5, and I've been able to talk to over 180 different business owners and entrepreneurs, and that's amazing. I've talked to people in Australia, California, Texas, you name it. Like, it's just, and to see the reach of the podcast, to see other people collaborating as a result of just listening to episodes, that's beautiful for me. So it was just like through all of that, I still found what I love. But yes, the passion is, man, it's there. I love everything that I do here. And I would say for all the skills that I have, from video editing to producing to content creation to audio editing, it definitely all came full circle with this podcast. But I love what I do through and through for sure.
Outstanding. And you can hear that passion, that excitement in your voice as you talk. The key is that passion. What is really important to you? And a lot of times it may ultimately lead to money, but not necessarily out of the gate. It takes giving up to get and paying it forward. And you've really started to connect those dots, and you're now driving forward with great strength. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So, from an innovation perspective,
Mhm.
and we're in podcasting, we're communicating all over the world, we get to meet some great people. And of course, the technology aspect of that is incredibly important relative to the innovation. Well, but when I define innovation, it's people, processing, technology wrapped in a culture and environment. And so it's a combination of all of those things to define win-win-win outcomes, win for the customer, win for the business, and win for the personnel that are part of that. How is innovation helping your business today? And where do you see it going in the future?
Honestly, if I think about the journey in 2020, and I think about really even, well, no, I really even go back to 2019 when this all started. But I think about what technology was like then, what certain apps were here, what websites were popular and everything like that. I would have never envisioned Twitter to be X, Instagram to have threads, Facebook to be using Meta now. I would have never envisioned the AI to come as centerfold as it has. And it wasn't until I really started talking to so many other creatives in that space that I realized it's been around us for longer than we realized, but it's just about how we recognize it, like what it was in, different things like that. So I would say innovation has really just helped me to remain creative because it's helped me not to stay stagnant. It's helped me to realize that as these sites are ever changing and ever adapting, and long form content is good here, but short form content is good there, it keeps me on my toes for sure. Whereas I can have content, have different interviews, I have to repurpose things. I have to make sure that I have this angle, but I have another side angle, or that I have another one that's catching from behind so we can see both. Because grad school taught me a lot of different things. I can't really watch TV the same anymore because I'm too focused on the production aspect of it. I can't even
That's awesome.
game anymore, right? I'm thinking like, why did they fade away on that? Why didn't they show that highlight again? Why are they still rewinding that on a loop? I'm not even thinking that he just made the biggest hit of the year and that was just amazing. So innovation, it's exciting because you never know what's next. You know that as they're debuting things and trialing and error things and getting feedback, and I've been able to be a part of some beta programs that I've used with different social media platforms, and even Zencaster, what I was using at first to experiment with video and audio. It's helped me switch my podcast from my first 65 episodes were audio only. 66 and on now have been video, whether it be virtual or whether it be YouTube or whether it be live or anything like that. We've made it happen. So for 120 plus episodes, it's been cool to see that. But now some people are going to laugh when I say this if they listen to this. TikTok, I was against TikTok through and through. I'm not touching it. I'm not adding another site to my belt. I'm on it now. I'm making it happen. Shorter form, I've been able to get discovered from there. So I would say, man, innovation within technology, it fuels my fire in a sense, because it's just like, wow, okay, just when I think I have things figured out, or just when I think I'm on a good schedule, or just when I think I'm being my consistent self, it's like, oh, they just released this update. Have you heard about that? I've never joined so many YouTube lives in my life and asked so many different questions and signed up for so many different things just to learn and just to be abreast. I'm reading now more now than I ever have in my life, even when I was in school. Not to say I wasn't reading in school, I was, but now I'm just trying to stay in the know and up to date with every single thing. And I think what ties it all in is the people who I talk to. I'm talking to people who are in this space constantly, who know things, who are ahead of the curve a little bit. So it even gives me some insight to ask certain questions, to get certain things. So innovation has been exciting. Technology, in some parts of it, it definitely can be scary. It can evoke fear a little bit, but I also have to realize, it's something that a lot of the interviewees have made a point to me of, it's only as scary as we make. Ultimately, we are in control of kind of everything that's going on, that's getting debuted, that's happening. And it's up to us how we experiment with it, how we play around with it. But it's here to stay one way or another. So as for the future outlook, man, like I said, I couldn't even imagine 5 years back what it was going to look like today. So I could imagine 2025, 2030, what we're looking at. It's going to be some unpredictable things, but I'm looking forward to it all.
Yeah, so be ready to adapt and flex, but take advantage of what's coming at us, right?
Oh, for sure.
Outstanding. Final takeaway for the audience. If there was one thing to offer our audience, business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals, that they really must consider as part of their business success journey, what would that be?
I would say to take and appreciate everything as it comes. Oftentimes, and I think while this can be applied from a business ownership perspective and an entrepreneurial journey, I more so want to speak to life just the same. Nobody wants to have those bad days, get that bad news, have to make those calls or those trips or anything like that. But nobody wants to hear that sales are at an all-time low, that things got canceled for today, that the business is not looking on the up and up, that you may have to come out of pocket a little bit more than you may have anticipated. But we love to rejoice about when things are going great. You know what I mean? And we love when things are on our side. The same way that we rejoice, we pray, we jump up for joy and everything like that. You have to have that same passion when things aren't going. Because for me, at a lot of parts of my journey, I thought selfishly. At some points, I only wanted to talk to certain people. And I had to get out of that mind state. At some points when my views were getting low, I was taking it personal. And I was just being hard on myself, not recognizing that, hey, have I changed up my posting schedule at all? Is this just a slump in the power? People just not listening to podcasts right now? Is it just an oversaturated thing? We're coming off the brinks of COVID. So what's kind of going on? What's happening? So I would say to take and appreciate everything as it comes, because I love every part of this journey. I love the good feedback. I love the negative feedback. I'm not going to say I love when people cancel interviews on me and don't show up, but it teaches me something because it gives me time to devote towards other things. Instead of getting mad about that, instead of throwing a fit or whatever the case may be, okay, let me focus on the episode that I just recorded. Let me go record some content. Let me repurpose some things. Let me not, or sometimes I take a nap. Sometimes you just need some self-care, some things like that. But I would just say that through and through, I would have never imagined being in a business mindset, being a CEO, having an LLC, being a business owner. But I would say delay is not denial. If I quit as soon as things stopped going my way, like I said, I would have stopped this in 2019 for sure, without a doubt. But the fact that I just took everything that came with it, the good, the bad, I questioned some things. I became skeptical about some things. I lost the motivation, as business owners and entrepreneurs do for sure. But as I started to hear others, as I started to work through my own journey and relate to life and read and stay up to date with things, pray, and keep that consistency, because that was all it was. I told myself at one point, I was writing on my wall, 1% better each day. That's all you have to do. Think about what you did yesterday. Just do one thing more. It doesn't have to be a crazy amount, a crazy increase, because if you think about 1% each day, that's 365% or 366 by the end of the year. That's how I'm looking at it. If we strive for that 100 every time, well, what does 101 look like? What does 102 look like? That's very hard, but it's attainable. So for me, it was just like, look, I love every bit of this. I love when things are going well. I love when things are going not so well, because it teaches me that everything isn't perfect. If everything was perfect and predictable, life would be kind of boring, because you just would know that you might not know the exact outcome, but you're going to be good when it's all said and done. Yeah. So to everybody out there that's listening, man, you are where you are because that's where you're supposed to be. Now, if you stay there, that's up to you. But if you take it as, hey, this is just a part of the journey, this is one step along the way, it's easy. A picture I always think about is that there were two men underground digging for gold. And one of the men hit his goal a lot quicker than the other man. And so he's celebrating, he's jumping for joy. The other guy could hear him. And the other guy is just like, well, how he got to this already? That's it. I'm done. If I haven't found it by now, it's no point. It's no hope. And he turns around. Had he hacked at it 3 or 5 more times, he would have hit the goal. And so comparison is the thief of joy for me. And so it's just, you focus on your own. I'm not worried about any other podcast. Obviously, I love podcasters. I love sitting down with people like yourself, Ed, just because of the message that you promote and how great you are with your guests as well. And I want all of us to succeed in my own right. But what you're doing with your show is what you're doing. What I'm doing with Down to Business is what I'm doing. Everybody is in their own respective lane. Mm-hmm. So I would just control what you can control and allow the rest to work itself out.
So keep moving forward. Small incremental improvements create massive change and improvement over time. Those Absolutely. 2 are the key messages.
I throw a lot of things at you and you sum it up every time. So yes, that's exactly what I would say.
I think those are wonderful messages for our audience. And it's important reminders for all of us. I have to remind myself of those things on a regular basis, because the saboteurs of our mind, the saboteurs of life are always going to be there. And that passion is our North Star. And we always have to keep moving through those and to move through those small incremental improvements. Any final thoughts?
Hey, this was amazing. Thank you. Like I said, from one podcaster to another, I always love connecting. So I'm glad that I was able to sit down today and just share this space with you, with your audience. And thank you for everything that you're doing. And yes, would always love to make myself a resource for anybody out there just looking to connect, whether it be about podcasts, whether you want to come on the podcast, anything of the sort. Down the number 2 in the business. You can find us anywhere and everywhere. I'm very much an open book and would love to just talk and connect with anyone. But Ed, no, from the bottom of my heart, from me to you, one, thank you for just such a quick turnaround time. Thank you for everything that you did to prepare me for this, and thank you for just making it an amazing environment. Like I said, I'm definitely taking some tips and some tricks from you.
Well, it has been my pleasure and my honor. I look forward to our continued communications as well. So congratulations so far, my friend, and complete sincere best wishes in your future as you continue to grow and make that an incredible success.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
Thank you all for joining us today, and a special thank you to our guest, Tamar Turner, for sharing his insights, experiences, and success tactics with us. We hope this conversation has left you inspired and motivated to embrace the challenges of entrepreneurship with vigor, innovation, and adaptability. Remember, success comes in many forms, and it's essential to define it for yourself. However, take the lessons shared by Tamar to heart as you navigate your own entrepreneurial journey. Embrace change, seek out opportunities for growth, and always be willing to adapt to the ever-evolving landscape of business. Thank you once again to our phenomenal guest speaker, Tamar Turner, and thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue exploring the stories behind incredible entrepreneurs. Stay resilient and stay innovative, and have a wonderful day, everybody.